when you're driving through large-scale change or transformation, the starting point is the same. It's where do we want this organization to be within a defined period of time? And what are the core elements of that organization? And when you look at an organization, typically any organization that's going through transformation, everyone starts to think that we've got to change everything. That's the thing. Everything we move things forward, we need to change. But fundamentally, there's quite a big part of the business that won't change at all. And it's getting the starting point, getting clarity about what that is, because that fundamentally, the things that are not going to change are the real core emphasis of the organization. So I do a lot of work in social housing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the host of the Business Transformation Podcast, and welcome to the Business Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, Heath Gascoigne, and this is the show where we talk to business transformators. Those business transformators have moved past just business design and includes oversight of implementation of those business designs and business transformations, and includes stakeholder management, coordination, and negotiation. If you work in strategy development and implementation and work to ensure that the strategy is aligned to the business design and technology, then you're probably a business transformator. This is the show where we speak to industry experts and professionals to share their stories, strategies, and insights to help you start, turn around, and grow your business transformation. Welcome to the Business Transformation Podcast. And in this episode, we're talking to one of those industry experts. We are talking to the one other and only Mr. Tony Lockwood. Tony is a global transformation strategist, engineering of change strategy, change success, and empowering transformation. Author of, and I hope we'll have a little plug later on, author of the Transformation Leaders Book of Knowledge book, acronym TLBoK, the TLBoK, so look out for that. Also, the founder of the Transformation Leaders Hub, host of the Transformation Leaders Podcast, and a veteran of enterprise organization change and transformation. Tony, it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you on the podcast. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. That was some introduction. That's a big name badge, isn't it? That I've got.
I think we've had all rounds of different genres of people on the podcast, but not, I think, another author. And I think I can see it in the back behind you there on the corner. If you could tell us a little bit about that. Also, I love the name. It's Transformation Leaders, but the Book of Knowledge, the BoK. Well done. Congrats on the book.
It's the Transformation Leaders Body of Knowledge.
Body of Knowledge. Apologies. Body of Knowledge. Okay, so before we just get into that, so the audience, so we stay on track. Try to stay on track within our time. So we got if Tony. So 3 points, as per usual, is in terms of the space that you're in, leadership, transformation, organization change and transformation. What has the industry got right now with change and transformation that you see? Are there rooms of improvement, or were they repeated mistakes, continue doing the same thing? There's this 70% that some people believe it, don't believe it, said no, it's these transformation projects run on time, on budget, there's no problem. Just don't go look at the National Audit Office page review, and you'll just see all the failed projects there. And the second is there an approach that you follow? Quite possibly, you might even document it in the body of knowledge. And what's that approach that you follow when you go and do or coach your clients, your customers, or even students on your transformation approach? What does that look like? And number 3, having done this many years, the leader, the founder of the Transformation Hub, the leadership Transformation Leadership Podcast, also author of your own of the book and the Body of Knowledge. If you could do it all again, knowing what you know, what would you do differently, if any at all? Okay, there we are. So over to you, Tony. Tony, so tell us first the book.
Well,
how did that come about?
Well, the background to it was pretty straightforward, really. I think in 2020, just before the COVID lockdown, I started a podcast, the Transformation Leaders Podcast. And the format is very similar to this. It's a conversation, a discussion with other transformation leaders. And the premise being that actually, when you're driving significant change and transformation, theory is good, but it's practice that matters. It's the experience that matters. So what we try to do within the podcast is share that experience. And a number of my guests over the years have said, "Oh, there's a book in this, collating all of this information. There's a book." And I said, "Oh, yeah, it probably is. There probably is." And then last year, I got pulled into doing an interim role with a big global firm, and we're starting to pull together lots of material and lots of content to help them establish a global transformation program. And when I handed that over to the internal team and did coaching and mentoring of that internal team for a while, I then started to see that actually, if I'm going to write a book, it's now, because I've got all of this content. I've got all the podcast recordings. It's now or never. So I started to think about, well, what should it look like, and how should it, what format should it be in? And I got copies of the change management body of knowledge, the project management body of knowledge. And I thought, oh, there must be one. There must be a transformation body of knowledge. Googled it, Amazon, anything, nothing came up. I thought, there you go, I will create one. So again, during lockdown, I established the Transformation Leaders Hub, which is a community just for people operating in change and transformation. So I started to engage with people, members of that, to say, are you interested in contributing to the body of knowledge? And a few people stuck their hands up, and over a period of time, we got all the content, we wrote the book. Did it quite quickly, actually, because I think a lot of people had a lot of content, a lot of knowledge available. Editing it and making sense of it and making sure it all fitted together, that took time. But it came out. We got it published about 3 weeks ago. And
congratulations.
It's a beast, as you can see.
Yes, it is a beast.
And it's not a book to read from cover to cover. It's a book that's there as a reference guide. And we can go into more details about structure, but it's a reference guide, and it's something to keep with you as you're going through projects and programs and transformations, just to refer back to, because you might be a case of, well, how do I do this, and what should I do there, and what are considerations? The answer's probably in the book.
Nice one. Okay, so congratulations, because it's not just that. It's a lot of people will publish a book and do an ebook and never go to print. Yours has not only gone to print, but look at the size of that thing. Well done. So okay, so you've got authors. Sorry, how many?
612
pages. Oh, wow,
that's a beast.
That's a beast. We have to arrange an exchange. I'll sign my one for your one. We'll do a swapsy. Okay, so absolutely. Now the issues, and you may even have it in the book, is I don't know if there's two schools of thought, but there's that school of thought that says these change and transformation projects have got a notorious success rate at 7% end in failure, and only 30% do. And so there's the research on the causes why, and then the others are saying that's all poo-poo, and then it doesn't mean that it's all these projects always start and they end on time, on budget, on scope. These things are amazing. We should do them all the time because they're so good. I don't know if there's any truth to that. What are you finding?
I think it's interesting if you really start to dig deep into that McKinsey statement a good few years ago now about 70% of projects fail. Then it all depends upon how you define what's your definition of a project and what's your definition of fail. Because I think if you go back to the original business cases of most initiatives, then they have failed because they're either late, they're over budget, or they under-deliver on value. One of those things. So for it to be 100% successful, they would have to all come in on budget, all delivered on time, and all deliver the benefits. So if any one of those is missing, you could argue that it's a failure. But that's pedantic. I think in the main, there are a lot of programs and initiatives that don't achieve the success that they should do, because they've been set up to fail from the start.
I'm going to quote you on that one. Can I just hold it there for everyone, ladies and gentlemen? What Tony just said there, and I don't think a lot of people are saying it, is because they were set up to fail. And so not maybe intentionally, but maybe the watermark or the milestones they were attempting to achieve with the little knowledge they had at the start of the project until they started it, is like, well, maybe naive or first pass. And people, I think what people, they get the impression of that original business case is quite a detailed business case, and it's down to a whole lot of analysis is done. So when they do the scoping and budget, this is what good looks like, and we're going to deliver it on X amount of time. But the reality is that was the first pass. And so your words there was they may have been set up to fail because they had the little knowledge. And so carry on.
Yeah, they weren't intentionally set up to fail. Obviously, no one wants to fail. But I think in many instances, the amount of time and effort spent in establishing a program or an initiative, or especially a transformation, there's not sufficient amount of time to set it up in the right way. And when we talk about if we talk about transformation separately from change initiatives or separate from projects, transformations are, in my opinion, fundamental changes to organizations. They are taking an organization from one state to another. And it's important to understand the impact that change or that transformation is going to have on all elements of the business. But often it's led by one function or a functional leader. And because of that, it's almost set up to fail. Because if the transformation is being run by the CTO, the technology officer, or CI, they're going to look through the lens of technology. If it's set up under the finance officer, it's going to look through the lens of finance. And as a transformation officer, you need to be able to see and understand the picture across the whole organization, because when you make one little change over here, there's going to be a knock-on effect over here. And understanding that end to end is critical, and being able to understand what change you're trying to achieve for the organization as a whole to move from here to here. That's the critical thing that people get. I don't think people invest sufficient amount of time in right up front.
There's a couple points there. When you were saying, I think there's some really great points there. Depending on who is sponsoring or kicking off the project, they have a certain perspective, and that perspective may not be, as you're saying, may not be shared others. And I think you even call it something similar, the WIIFM, what's in it for me. And so at the CTI level, they've got the WIIFM for me, and it's probably technical. And you've got the CFO on the other side, it's financial. And then the operations, it's workplace, workflow, work happiness. And so that, depending on the perspective or the bias of the sponsor, you've got it's pushed in a certain way, and that may not be shared. So I think part of that is what you're also saying, which I say is if transformation is everybody's business, and it's regardless whether you're directly involved in the project itself or you're in the organization. As you just said, you're going to be impacted across the organization, up and down and across. So one of the things then you're saying is that what is the industry doing right and wrong? Well, maybe they've got to look at, and further to you're saying is maybe not enough time is invested at the front of the project. And the challenge is there is when a project is started, there's an envelope of money that's slid across the table and said, this is the amount of money for your project. And that usually starts when the project starts. But where was the funding to do that initial, before the project starts part?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I think that's always the case. Usually in any project that I've been involved in or program, they take too long to make the decision to go.
Yeah.
But then you get concertina because they don't want it to be delivered any later than you put in the business case. But
yeah,
you're usually 2 or 3 months behind schedule because they haven't given you the go ahead at the right time. I think from a transformation perspective, if we're looking at in simple terms, my view is that a transformation is organizational wide, yeah, and it's about fundamental change,
yep,
made up of a portfolio of projects and programs and change initiatives and business improvements, yeah. But collectively, that is the transformation, and the key in my experience is for that transformation leader, that chief transformation officer, to be at that top table within the C-suite. And I think moving forward, that has to be the case, because there's the old adage that change is inevitable, but I think transformation is inevitable. There's so much going on around politics, from a technology perspective, from a sort of economic perspective and globalization perspective. Then plans that you've created today, 12 months down the line, some of those will be outdated. You'll have to be quite agile. So as a transformation leader, you need to absolutely be clear about what you're working on in the projects and programs and make sure you've got the governance around delivering those. But equally, you've got to be able to keep your head above the parapet and look 12 months down the line, 18 months down the line, to understand what's coming. How do we need to adapt this plan? It's that the analogy I use a lot is it's that satellite navigation that we've got in the car. We start off here. We know we want to go to London or Edinburgh or New York or wherever, yeah. Yep. But what the satellite's doing in the background as you're making that sort of starting that journey is it's taking into account everything that's going on, and if there's delays, if there's traffic, it will redirect you, and that's really what transformation leaders should be doing. It's getting clarity about where we're going, getting that destination, but then being quite agile in terms of how we get there and making sure that we are taking into account the stuff that's changing in the world around us as we go through that journey.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to play that back to you, and I like the definitely we're on the same page about the agile. Well, what I see is agile in terms of, well, we get the agilists that are gung-ho, follow agile Scrum by the letter, and if you're not following by the letter, therefore you're not doing agile. And I think, well, first of all, agile is a mindset, a way of thinking, and then from a different way of thinking, you will change your way of behaving. And then that part of that is, which I push a lot, is with our students, is saying that done is better than perfect. And that is when we're talking about change and transformation, and the environment changes. So you have to be able to change as the environment changes, as like you were saying with the navigation, the GPS, is that with the old school, which I see in my space with business architecture, is that the business architects will come up with some great designs for what the target operating model for the organization looks for, but they base that off a conversation they had like 6 months ago. They disappeared for 6 months, created these lovely designs. They turn up 6 months later and go, ta-da, here is your target operating model. And the business is going, well, in 6 months, the world has changed. And this is the first time we've seen this. And you've only shown us this is the first time after 6 months, those 1 or 2 conversations we had, and one of them was in a corridor walking to the meeting. So the agile part, when people say agile, I'm not sure if they understand what they mean when they say agile. What do you find?
No, I think that again, the word is being utilized in lots of different ways. When I say agile, it is that having that agility to take into account stuff that's happening and being prepared to change your course of action if external forces or internal forces dictate that you should do. At least have the ability to keep a watch on what's happening and constantly evaluating whether or not the path that we decided to go down, is that the right path now? Or is there a quicker way of getting to the end, to the destination, because other opportunities have arisen?
Yes.
But I think it's interesting that you're saying that about the target operating model piece. Within the body of knowledge, we created a framework. It's a 9-pillar framework. And the first 4 are all about creating a roadmap. And it starts off with getting clarity around the vision, around that North Star, what we're trying to achieve, where we're trying to get to. Yeah. But then how does your business model need to be adapted to deliver that? How does your operating model need to be adapted to deliver that? How does your digital and your technology frameworks need to be adapted to deliver that? And once you've got clarity around those 4 things, you've got a roadmap, effectively a roadmap to go out and deliver. But again, coming back to that agility, making sure that all the way through the process, you will keep coming back to say, is that the right destination? And is there other opportunities that are being created that allow us to make some adaptations to the business model or to the operating model or to the technology that we utilize in the digitalization of the business that allow us to get there quicker or help us to be better customers or whatever it is, but keep constantly going back to say and challenging ourselves and just validating whether or not what we set out to achieve is what we actually want to achieve. And once you've got that roadmap in place, then you start focusing on how you're going to get there and how you need to take your stakeholders, your partners, the culture, the people on that journey, which is the other the next 3 pillars within the book.
Okay, so I think what you're saying there is the first part is we're on the same page here. It's great. The is the vision, which is really the why you're doing it, and then the other part you talk about what's going on, what have we got available for us. With your saying there, the business model, operating model, technology, and digital, and then the third part being, which is probably your other pillars, is the how. So you've answered the big, which I talk about, the 5W1H is the 5-6 strategic questions we're trying to answer. Why we're doing it, who's involved, what's the problem. But the other one, which you also said in the beginning, I was going to call it out when, like, the project manager's dilemma, that time, quality, and cost. And you actually were saying time, quality, time, cost, and value. And I was going, well, that's a nice way to look at it, because that is what we're trying to achieve out of here. You can do all the changes in the world, but if it doesn't realize the value or the benefits for the business, is like, what did you do? It's pointless. You want to deliver the requirements. Like, if you got some developers will say, I want a button on the website, and they put the button on the website. So, well, no, the button need to look this color, this is the response. And so, but the button's there. So that's right, requirement. Your requirements are done, but no. Yeah, so the key point being their value. So so you've got, first of all, well, maybe are we moving out of our first question about what's the industry got right, wrong? Are we saying that the leadership at the moment is?
I think, from my perspective, if we're talking about transformation, organizational transformation, then it's critical moving forward that the Chief Transformation Officer sits on the seat, is an integral part of that C-suite, not a direct report of a C-suite member. So being able to work alongside the CEO to ensure that all of the functional activities involved in the design and ultimately the execution of the transformation, and it is making that transition from what happens at the moment is a lot of the CTOs, transformation officers, chief transformation officers, sit beneath one of the functional leads. So the CFO, HR, HRD, etc. But it has to be able to step up. That person needs to step up into that C-suite, I think.
Okay, so I'm play that
to bring everything together.
Okay, I'm going to play that back to you there, Tony. So, and I like this. I don't know how long ago. I was fairly recently. I seen this title come up, and that people on LinkedIn are saying a new position. I've just been promoted to the Chief Transformation Officer. I was like, oh God, finally land. But to your point, there is, they cannot be somebody that is subordinate to any other of the functional divisional leads, because then you are, what's the word? You are the talking piece for them, which is just repeating what they're saying. It's like, we don't have an independent seat at that table. You are part of their division. So I'm all for the CTO, the Chief Transformation. That's a tricky one, because it's also the technology officers. Very similar title. Yeah, so
it's occasionally seen as CTRO.
CTRO. Okay, CTRO.
Yes.
Alrighty. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
that
we've got
seems to be
That's the going
abbreviation with.
All right. Okay. That's what differentiate from the technology. We don't want to be annoying our technology colleagues, but we're in the same boat together, which I find sometimes that they think it's this is the relationship we need to have. It's like, no, with this relationship we need to have. Okay, so what is happening? The good in the industry is the new technology transformation officer, the CTRO, has come out. The pro and the con of that is they need to sit at the same C-suite level, not report to another divisional functional head, but a single separate seat to themselves. So for many reasons there, they are independent. I think the key word is that you're saying. The definition, so that we're all clear, that if we weren't clear already, of transformation, in your words, if I paraphrase, it's fundamental change of an organization. It is organization-wide, and it is made up of a lot of projects and initiatives. And I think that's key, is that when people say we're doing a transformation, and we're in one part of the business, isolated from the rest, and so, well, no, are you doing a change or just a transformation or a change project? And it has no implications to other parts of the business. Okay, so there's a new role. We've got, what do we say, the agile care part. Is that yes, agile has been used in many ways and definitions to different people as transformation, but let's be clear on what we mean by transformation, or that definition I just said, your definition. You have a starting point, and we're going to get into that now. Approach the second question there for our audience about what is the approach that you follow. So, but I want to just cap off that first part. We have a new chief transformation officer. We have to be very wary of where the sponsor or the project has initiated from, because it might have a certain perspective, and that perspective might not be shared with others. And I'm sure you were going to get into it, how we can get that a shared vision or view that the rest of the organization can buy into. So I'm going to assume it's something to do with the WIIFM, and that there is, at the moment, what the industry is not doing very well is that they are committing time for their projects, but it's that piece beforehand, is that if we're going to define good or bad successful projects and say there's 70% failure rate, is because they're defining their success of the initial piece of work that they did on the back of a fag packet with no real time or budget. And then they're going to try and now, as you said, Constantine the project in a shorter amount of time, because now it got proved a bit later. Now, so we're setting ourselves up for failure, but we need to be better and smarter. And I'm sure with the body of knowledge, we've got the answers. All righty. Okay. So number two is,
I think,
what is the approach?
Before we go on to,
sorry, go.
Just for that, before we go on to number two, just for clarity, yeah, I do think that it needs to be organizational wide. But if you've got a global organization or a big conglomerate that have got large scale divisions or different management teams in different countries, you can have a transformation within one geographical area or one business unit within a conglomerate.
Yep.
The key is that, and coming back to where the chief transformation officer sits, is the wingman, or the wing person, should I say these days, the wing person of the chief exec or the MD.
Yeah,
sitting on direct reporting line to the CEO or the MD. So that can be at the global level, or it can be at a regional or divisional level. But that's the difference. But when we talk about divisional transformation, we are still talking about something that's having an impact across the whole division,
across the organization.
In one of the
yeah. Okay. And I think part of why that's important, and I talk about there's structural change where we're going to make changes to people or process, and of course in technology, it's swapping out or upgrading, changing or decommissioning. But a part of that is also ways of working in culture, which I think is, there's a challenge. I think the one that's really clear and stands out the difference between maybe like yourself, and you get called into a client that's a commercial banking client, private sector, and then you go into public sector and you see a way different change behavior. And so the way that they're really incentivized and motivated is financially and market share, versus on the other side is on more social good and the payback. And so when you're talking organizational change and you've got people, process and technology changes, and then you've got the other side, of the soft change elements, the culture. How do you tackle that?
I agree there are fundamental differences between those industries, but fundamentally, I think when you're driving through large-scale change or transformation, the starting point is the same. It's where do we want this organisation to be within a time period of time, and what are the core elements of that organisation? And when you look at an organisation, typically any organisation that's going through transformation, everyone starts to think that we've got to change everything. That's the thing. Everything we move things forward, we need to change. But fundamentally, there's quite a big part of the business that won't change at all. And it's getting the starting point, getting clarity about what that is, because that fundamentally, the things that are not going to change are the real core emphasis of the organisation. So I do a lot of work in social housing. Yeah, the one thing that won't change in social housing is the fact that every social housing organisation is there to provide nice, affordable, safe housing and communities for their tenants. That's never going to change. How we deliver that may change, and how we can adapt things to improve that core deliverable is likely to change. But fundamentally, 60%, 70% of that business is never going to change, because it's all about providing those safe, secure, comfortable, affordable houses for the tenants in the community. And so it's critical to, and that's the starting point, I think, in lots of organizations when you're going into, irrespective of whether it's public sector, private sector, large scale, global or regional. Let's get a clarity about what our core purpose is, and what's not going to change, and that allows us then to really understand what we're here to do. And once we understand what we're here to do, then we can start to say, okay, what do we want to be? How do we want to improve that in due course? And that starts to create that North Star about we want to move it from here to here, and that's about, in that environment, making it easy for the customers to engage with us, or the tenants to engage with us, making it easy for them to do X, Y, Z. It all keeps coming back to that core purpose. And I think that's the difference, because if you do that, you're then starting to talk their language. You're starting to engage with them, things that people are really genuinely interested in, as opposed to talking airy fairy transformation stuff.
All right, okay, you got some gold you're dropping there, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you got your notepads out. So there's lots of things. I want to try if I can recap that. The last one that you said about language, I'm fully on board with you there. I call this thing in the organization, you've got the 3 L's: layers, language, and levels. And that every layer, strategic, operations, implementation, speak a different language and a different level of detail. And the challenge with our transformation is that, like, back to your beginning point about who's leading it, because a certain perspective is that they're at a certain level, they have a certain language they speak and a certain level of detail, and it's not shared with others. So bang on the money. And so ladies and gentlemen, for that point that you said about the very beginning about the vision, and regardless of what area, industry you're in, public, private, what your transformation is, it's always the same starting point. So so that's the big aha moment if you're tuning in now for the first time, is regardless of the project or the industry you are, because I've been in some transformations that have been running for 2 years, and they'll show me the vision, and they'll just pull out a long list of OKRs, and I'll go, you know what OKRs are, right? They're your objectives and your measures, your key results. And so, but you're missing the 2 before that. They're actually what is your strategy, the how are you going to get there, and the number 1, the vision. And so what I've been on projects where they've got like 200 OKRs, and I said, this is amazing, it's great. And then they'll tell me about all these new initiatives and projects to deliver them. I said, but what's the purpose? To your point, what are we here for? The vision. I said, and they were like 9 months avoiding that conversation, even when I was there for almost a year. And it's like, guys, we still haven't, we're just creating, we're just busy here, but no vision. What do you find? Is that Yep.
It goes back to what you said earlier, Heath, about get clarity. Part of that vision is to get clarity about why.
Yes.
Why we're here, and why we're considering changing things. So what's our purpose? And so answering that, why are we here?
Yeah.
And why do we need to change? And once you've got that clarity, then you can start to look at the what and the how.
Yes. Okay. So we got some things that the industry is doing well. Hopefully I can wrap them up when we get to the end. And there's some things and we've got a new role, a new title. So we've got a champion for us sitting on the boardroom and on the C-suite, hopefully with their own seat, not sitting on someone else or someone else sitting on them. We all now speaking different languages, but we all understand. And I think there's that I love that word clarity. That's everyone they've got. When you got clarity, you might not have 100% agreement. Their vision is the same for everyone, but how they're interpreted, the how and what and why different parts of the business are going to deliver to that vision, all may be slightly different, but it's all for the same reason. Okay. Now, number 2.
And just to add to that, though, clarity is key. But but another reason why the person needs to have their own seat at that table is because their role is to get alignment across that C-suite. And there will be differences in opinion. There will be, the finance officer will probably have one element in mind, and the technology officer will have something else in mind. But it's about getting alignment and getting agreement and facilitating that agreement across what can be quite diverse thoughts and principles and objectives. The role of the transformation officer is to bring that together. So you've got clarity and you've got alignment. And until you've got both, it's a waste of time moving forward.
Yes.
But all too often, people do move forward, and that's why 12 months down the line, they bring you and I in to sort it out.
Yeah. And then we got to unravel it all and go, okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to quote you a lot later when we share this. So and we said, for those that missed, we had a quick little intro beforehand, and Tony said a key thing, and he said about simplicity, and he just said it in 3 words. Clarity is key. It's like, yeah, like it's real. If you don't have that, and otherwise it's really a talking fest, and everyone is just waiting for the other person to finish speaking until they can talk, not listening to what they were saying, but just waiting for their turn to reply to whatever they were saying. Okay, so the new role, excuse me, our CTRO is the key parts of their role is clarity and alignment. Okay, so now we've covered point 1 about what's industry doing. Now number 2, and so hopefully we might get some insights into the body of knowledge's approach. So now knowing what you know, what you're going to see your clients. And what's your approach that you follow? And I'm assuming it's something to do with that book that's sitting above you right in the corner there.
Yeah, this one here. Yeah, within the book, we've created a framework, and that framework is based around 9 pillars. And a tool that we've created within the book is what we call the transformation canvas. So it's a 1-page document that's got those 9 boxes on, with a series of questions. So to come back to your point about when I go into an organization and start to engage with the senior leadership team, I take this 1-page document with me, because on that 1-page document, it's probably got about 30 questions. Yeah, and I'll guarantee that the vast majority of those questions we don't know the answers to. And coming back to what we were just talking about, getting clarity.
Yep.
Getting clarity around answers to those 30 questions is the first thing you've got to do.
Yes.
And then secondly, to get alignment across the C-suite on the answers to those 30 questions is the second thing you've got to do. And ultimately, then once you've got that, you've got the framework provides you with, as I said, the first 4 elements provide you with the roadmap. So the vision, what we're trying to do and why. What's the impact on the business model? What's the impact on the operating model? And what's the impact from the digital and technology perspective? Getting those 4 things in place gives us the roadmap. The next 3 pillars talk about how you're going to deliver the transformation. So what's the impact, and how do we need to engage and keep on board our stakeholders and partners, both internal and external, and what do we need to do to ensure that they come on the journey. Culture, what's the cultural change that we need to have, and how can we communicate and keep that right front and center of what we're doing. And the final element of that is the people. What's the impact upon the people? Have we got the right people in the right places? Have they got the right skill sets? Do we need to train them? Do we need to bring new people in? All of that stuff about how we're managing that change to the people piece is in that second element of the framework. And then the final two pillars are very much about governance and assurance. So are we managing the transformation in a structured way? Are we managing the portfolio of projects and programs beneath the overarching transformation in a structured way? Are we looking at risk across the organization? Are we understanding the dependencies, all the usual project management, change management activities? And then the final bit is around the finance. Are we actually delivering what we said we're going to deliver? Are we delivering the benefits? Are we delivering the different outcomes that with this transformation initiative was set up to achieve? So are we, going back to my sat nav analogy, are we, if we're keying London in the sat nav, are we actually getting closer to London? And that's the way that we measure progress, day by day, week by week, month by month. Are we getting closer to the end destination, the North Star?
Alrighty. Okay. So I'm going to try if I can summarize that. that is I'm not sure collectively the wisdom of how many years that's just got condensed into, and that's the benefit and the I don't know the point, but the benefit of having a body of knowledge that you've got the best of the knowledge that exists in this space has now been put into this a comprehensive framework. So to play that back as best I can there, I think I like what you said from the very beginning, is when you go in with the leadership team and you pull out, if it's the transformation canvas, and you've distilled down essentially the complexity of the transformation project initiative, the change and transformation they want to do, into 30 questions. And then the point from there is the transformation leader, transformation officer, is to get those two things, the clarity and alignment. But well done. Now, before I speak more on that, I'm going to leave a link so the audience can get in touch with you, to find the link on the book. We'll put a link in the show notes. And I'm assuming somewhere it'd be in the book. If a canvas, they could get a look of what the canvas looks like to help them shape their thinking. As when I go myself into these clients, and visuals are key. You can say so many things, but until they visually see it, and they're like, then it starts to hit home. And my approach, where I say, we've got our blueprints, yes, we've got our models and diagrams, but it's always two parts to it. There is a model and diagram for context to bring everyone on the same page. So visually they can see, and what they can see and I can see and they also can see is the same thing. And the second part is a background table that captures the detail that's not in that front page, but supports the front page. But the reason why we don't put them together, which I see a lot of my colleagues and other consultants do, is they put it all together. And it's very interesting, but to the business, who goes back up to our earlier point about different languages and different perspectives, it means a different thing to them. It's like, and an architecture would say, like if you were building a building, you've got your different layers of the architecture plans, the blueprints, the carpenter, the woodwork, the engineering, the plumbing, the wiring. But if you put all those plans over the top of each other, it's confusing. And I think what you've just said with your 30 questions, you've now distilled what's important for operations. You said earlier the business model, the operating model, your technology, your digital. What are we doing currently there? What's the impact? So you've now distilled these different blueprints for different perspectives for that leadership team to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
I've got to get my hands on that book. Okay, so and I like to also see it in your approach there. is that there's the cultural element, which I think is overlooked because it's hard to measure. And so so of the approach of the 9-pillar approach, the canvas, the transformation canvas, what do you find is the one that is resonating a lot when you're going in for the first time and it's going, okay, this is going to be a home run, these guys have got it, or no, look, it's going to take a while because some are on board, some are not? What is working that with the canvas that's good for you, and some things that we need that they are grasping? So for our listeners to go, okay, if you're encountering this is what you need to do.
I think there's no simple answer to that. I think it depends upon where the organisation is, and how they've come to be in the place they're in at the moment. What I find a lot of times is that they've started in recent times. It's the buzzword is not necessarily transformation; it's digital transformation.
Oh yes,
that's the buzzword.
Yes.
Yeah, and so suddenly, well, the C-suite, chief execs, we need to have a digital transformation.
Yes.
And they look at it through the lens of technology, and you can very clearly see that when you go into an organization where all they're talking about is technology. And then you say, well, that's just one pillar of this 9.
Yes.
Let's step back and go through each of the other 8 to see whether or not we've got those covered off. Because depending on where they've come into this sort of discussion from, whichever lens they've come into it, it could be cultural, it could be because they've got issues around the people, but that tends to be the starting point, and they've put a lot of effort in focus upon those individual areas, and probably have the answers to a lot of the questions in those areas. But when you then say, okay, well, let's just step back, let's take the helicopter view, and let's look at the other areas, or the other 7 areas. What are the answers to this, and what about this question, what about that question? That's when it starts to become a little bit more clearer to the audience that actually, we haven't got all this sorted out. We do need to think about the impact it's going to have over here or over there or whatever. So I think that's what I found. It's the tool, the canvas is very useful at helping people to step back and look at things from that sort of 60,000 feet mark, or whatever the term is.
The helicopter.
The helicopter view. 60,000 feet is probably a bit too much for the helicopter, isn't it? Thinking about it.
Or 20,000, something like that. Yeah, but the point being that, and I think that what you're stressing there is when you're in the business, as opposed to looking on the business, it has a different perspective. And that's why what I share with students is to say, with our building blocks and blueprints, get them out to the business as quick as you can so that you can get feedback, because of diminishing value. The longer you work on something, the less value you add. And why the benefit there, by sharing it with your stakeholders, they get to see it from a different perspective, and then they will probably change their mind. But you've got to give them the opportunity to review it, can think about it, understand the impacts, because you're big on the impacts here. So, and then they may change what's important to them, their priorities, and therefore change their mind. So, the big one, I like what you just said about the digital transformation, like the digital transformation, because I say, we might be saying the same words, is there's no such thing as digital transformation. Like, I'm pretty sure. I know this is an unpopular opinion, and I'm sure we've all said unpopular opinions at some point in time. But I don't believe in that there is a thing called digital transformation. I don't think AI changed. AI was always AI. I think what changed is the business changed by using digital technologies, and this now space has been renamed as digital transformation. So, well, actually, no, it's business transformation, but you're just using your technology you're using now is digital. But if we ask the question, what was the digital technology before it was digital? It's like, okay, you might be able to say for analog telephone systems have now gone digital. There's a clear case of that's gone from one format or mode to another. So you could say that's been digitalized. But to say, well, we're going to use Oracle version, or the old version 1.0, for example, and now it's Oracle 5. So, well, it's still database. It's still relational database. It's what's changed. So, well, that wasn't a digital transformation. So I like what you're saying is the naming, and this that you even said the words before, and there's a takeaway for the audience is their language. Understand it in their language, not us coming in, the consultants. I see my colleagues come in and they're trying to teach the business how to do like business process modeling notation language to make that the processes. I'm going, guys, they have a language. The business speaks a specific language. Don't make them change the language. We just get better at English. How about that? And they're like, no, we must teach them. We've adopted a standard. I'm going, how's your projects going these days? Yeah, but I love what you said. You said language.
Yeah. Why have the fight when you don't need it?
Yeah. We've got a big enough mountain to climb. Let's not put a rod in our back so we can make it harder for ourselves. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we got the 9-pillar approach. We got our transformation canvas, our 30 questions. It does a couple of things. First of all, provides the context, and second, we aim for our CTRO to get us on the same page with the alignments and the clarity. Now, number 3, third question is, having done this for many years, as we said at the top of the hour, that you are the Transformation Leaders Hub founder, you are the lead on the Transformation Leaders body of knowledge, the TLBoK. Not funny enough, but amazing coincidence that just happens to be Tony's initials. But so this is amazing play on words there. So Tony will be a legacy beyond his time, because that name will never go. So congrats. Well done. I wasn't even smart or clever enough to work that out for Mo. So, but well done. Okay, so now the having been in this position, done it a lot, the chair of and founder of all these different organizations and industry body groups, if you could do it all again, would you do it differently? Or what would you do differently? So this is really the cheat sheet for our listeners to say, I've learned this, and this is what I've got the shirt. I've been through the fire. What do you do differently?
I think you've got to go through some shitty moments, don't you, to learn?
Yes.
And I don't think there's one thing certain with any project or any change initiative that you work through. Yeah, whatever you thought was going to happen, there'll be other stuff that happens along the way. Yeah. So it's the old adage that a failure to plan is a plan of failure. Yeah. As soon as you plan it, then that plan the day after is out of date.
Yes.
So it's never going to be delivered in the way that you planned it.
Yes.
So it's I suppose, would I change anything? It would have been good to have had a body of knowledge early on in my career so I could have picked that up and learned from other people.
Yep.
Absolutely. But there wasn't one. So you pick it up. I think in my experience, one of the big learning points that I've had, and was probably one of the catalysts for setting up the Transformation Leaders Hub, the community for people who operate in change and transformation, is that theoretically, when you're running a big program, you're on your own. You don't necessarily want to turn some of your teams to say, I'm not too sure what I've got to do here.
Yeah.
It can be quite isolating. So having that network of people that you can trust to turn to and just say, I'm really struggling on this, and getting a second opinion.
Yep.
I was fortunate enough to have a number of those people that I could turn to during my career, and I would encourage everybody to create that network from them, because it can get lonely, it can get really challenging. You do at times, if you're running major programs or major projects or big transformations, you do at times feel that you're getting hit from every side, and you've got a big tap on your back. And at those times, it can get really stressful. So just being able to step back and share things with other people, there's a massive value in that. And that's, I say, one of the catalysts for building up the community, because you've always got someone to come back to. You're never on your own. And that's part of what the book's all about. You're never on your own because you've got a reference guide to look back to. But sometimes the book's not going to be enough, and that's why it works alongside the community.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to play that back to you. Thank you there, Tony. Is that you said from the beginning there is about the plan to fail, or not planning is the plan to fail. But the challenge there is once the plan is written, it's almost relevant. So the summary being, which I'll take the words out of your mouth, is that planning is essential. Plans are useless, or other way around, plans are useless, but the planning process itself is it's like breathing air. You need to do it. So yeah. So but the conscious for the takeaway there is go through the process. Do the planning. Just bear in mind, the moment you've written a plan, it's probably obsolete. So keep reiterating. And then our agile mindset is the iterating part. And then the pain part is like, yeah, what you expect to happen versus what's going to happen. It's like, yeah, you're probably going to get everything you expect to happen plus more. Bit of interest. So chin up. It is what it is. And then and to help you with that is, and I think that's the takeaway for the new guys in the industry coming through, or hitting the maturity of where you're at, of your experience, is that the network, the trusted network, the confidants, where you can pick up the phone and say, hey, look, this is unbelievably difficult right now. What am I doing wrong? Or what am I not doing? Yeah, I was told earlier in my career is like, Heath, you look too young. You're going to have to dye your hair, grey. And I was like, okay, thanks, mate. But that's from seeing you guys.
I'm only 21. I just dye my hair grey to make me look old, but I'm only 21, really.
It's yeah, me too. This means what's that one for the grey hair? I'm on that. No, luckily, but it's still here. Yeah. So the key part there is your peer group, trusted peer group that you can confide in, trusted where you feel no threat, or that you can say, hey, look, this is a little bit challenging, and soundboard it with them. So those are the takeaways. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I won't attempt to wrap up the whole thing. If you want, there'll be the transcripts there in the show notes. We'll wrap it up there. Tony, thank you very much for joining and sharing your insights. I will put in the show notes your LinkedIn, the transformation hub if they qualified. You've got to be a transformation practitioner in the business they're doing transformation. The link to the Transformation Leaders podcast, and of course the link to where can they get their hands on the copy of the Transformation Leaders Body of Knowledge.
Well, it's available on all leading bookshops, both online and offline. It's on Amazon. You can get it directly through Transformation Leaders Hub website as well, which is thetransformationleadershub.com.
Alrighty.
So when you go on the homepage, it flashes up almost immediately. As soon as you try to get off, it flashes up saying, "Do you want a copy of the book?"
Oh, beauty. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you'll have all that details on the show notes. Okay, so wrap it up there. Tony, thank you very much for coming in and sharing all your insights. And I look forward to, maybe we'll have a take two in a year's time. Maybe there's going to be part 2, or a new iteration, or another version. I look forward to that.
No, thank you very much. It's been a great conversation, and you're absolutely right. As any body of knowledge, it will evolve, so there will be future versions. But this is the 2024 edition. There's certainly not going to be one for the rest of the year. This is it. Yeah,
no, well done. I know what it took or would have taken to get that out. Yours is twice, if not more, the size of mine. And so no, well done. Congratulations on the book. And well done with also the Transformation Leaders podcast and the innovation, the Transformation Hub. One day, if I qualify, I may submit an application to join.
Well, let's be clear again. The Transformation Leaders Hub is for people that operate in project, program, and change management. So you already qualified to go in there. What we don't allow in recruiters. We don't allow in anybody that's just operational wise. It is because we want to create that safe environment for people to build their network that can help them to build and develop a career in the future within that sort of project, program, change, transformation space.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen. Brilliant. Yep. Thank you very much, Tony. This will be up on YouTube on the podcast, and hopefully only a week or two. I'll tag you when we publish it, and hopefully, share well with your audience. And yeah, thank you again.
Brilliant. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay. Have a good night.